Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. And it should come as no surprise to anyone that the first pick of this mock draft is going to be Victor Wembanyama, the 7'4" French unicorn that can comfortably be projected as one of the best prospects simply in the history of basketball at this point. Players with his size and his mobility just do not come around that often. And the combination of his shooting ability, his perimeter handle, and his isolation shot creation makes Big Vic one of the most fun, fascinating, and enjoyable prospects that I've ever scouted. Point blank, period. If there is a question with Wemby, it's the body type. Injuries are an unfortunate part of the game, and there are real concerns about whether or not this is a dude whose body can handle the rigors of NBA life. But he's already preparing for this. As his point guard, Devontae Jones, discussed in our prospect profile earlier this month, Victor has a trainer that he works with for hours every day, before practices, after practices, before games, after games, to strengthen his body and to help prevent injury, while recognizing that at 19, he is still a kid that is growing into a 7'4" frame with an 8-foot wingspan. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with a body that is that big, that long, and that young. So it's good to see that he is starting to get ahead of the curve here. But look, Victor Wembanyama is Victor Wembanyama. He's going to be the number one pick in this draft. We all know it. So the draft truly starts with the second pick, where Charlotte has a decision to make between G League Ignite Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller from Alabama. And to me, I think that Scoot is pretty much the clear answer here. He's the obvious one to me. I believe he's the highest upside player in this draft, not named Victor, with Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose as comparisons that are in his range of outcomes if the shooting never comes along. That's a big question. He's so powerful. He's so athletic. He's so good at operating out of ball screens. He's not just an explosive athlete either. He's one of these guys that's got some wiggle to his game. He can kind of step around screens and finish, step around rim protectors and finish. I'm sorry. And he's a mid-range shooter that I would be willing to bet on him figuring out the three ball once things are kind of all said and done. He's in the NBA for a little bit of time. I'm comparing him to D Rose and Russ for a reason. I think that he could end up being an MVP level guy in the NBA. And I don't think that you can say that about anybody else that is going to be drafted after him in 2023. If you're picking second, you're not a very good franchise. Pick the guy that can change the future of your organization. Point blank, period. That leaves Brandon Miller at number 3 for Portland. No one has any idea what the Blazers are going to end up doing with this pick. Are they going to trade Dame? Are they going to use the prospect of getting Miller or Scoot to entice another team to send over an all-star caliber sidekick for Damian Lillard? That's unclear, but what I feel comfortable saying is that Brandon Miller is clearly the third best prospect in this draft, and I think it's not really all that close. He's 6'9". He's a terrific shooter off the catch. He can finish above the rim when he gets to the rim. And while there's some real questions about his ability as like an isolation scorer, whether or not he can ever be more than just a shooter, I think you have to bet on your development system to bring that part of his game along. He's tough. He's a willing defender. He's got size. He's got some switchability upside once he puts on a little bit more strength and muscle mass. Of course, the elephant in the room is the off-the-court stuff that he was involved in Alabama. But I would suspect that most franchises would be willing to overlook that, considering that he has already played half of last season with that hanging over his head. So we will be sending Brandon Miller to Portland with the number 3 pick. Picking 4th is the Houston Rockets, and I still think that you want to shoot for upside here if you are Houston. To me, Amen Thompson is the highest upside guy left on the board. He's a 6'7" lead guard that excels in the open floor and is underrated in terms of his ability as a passer and as a playmaker. We're talking a top 1% of the NBA kind of an athlete here in Thompson. Now, there are going to be questions about the level of play that he faced in Overtime Elite. Remember, he turned 20 in January, and he spent the last couple of years playing against a lot of high school kids. There are also going to be questions about his shooting, which is justified. But with Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun and Jabari Smith, there's suddenly a really interesting core there when you add Amen Thompson to the mix. Speaking of Houston, pick number 5 is a product of the Cougars' program. Freshman Jairus Walker, a 6'8" big body four-man that has all the makings of a great team player at the NBA level. He doesn't turn 20 until September, but he already has the frame and the athleticism of a grizzled NFL veteran. He's big enough to guard fives, and with time, he will likely be quick enough to switch down if you want to use him there. And if you believe in the jumper, he hit threes at a 35% clip as a freshman. There's upside on that end of the floor as well. It feels weird to say this about a team that only won 17 games last season, but I do think that Detroit needs these connective pieces. I think that they have the foundation, these stars that you want in Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey and a whole bunch of former five-star five men. Walker, to me, is the best available player that can slide in that connective tissue role. And I think that he'll be the pick at number 5 for the Detroit Pistons. Pick number 6, the Orlando Magic. We went with Taylor Hendricks from UCF, one of the biggest surprises of the 2022 recruiting class. He was a borderline top 100 guy coming out of high school, a 6'9" four-man that shined, playing a role that is at a premium for NBA teams. He's defensively versatile, and he shoots the hell out of it. He was a 40% three-point shooter on nearly 5 attempts per game. He has the length and the athleticism to potentially defend guards at the next level, and he can also act as a rim protector. It's not often that you legitimately find players that have the potential to actually guard 1s through 5s, but I do think that there is a world where Taylor Hendricks can be that guy. He needs to add some weight to his frame, and I'm not sure he has a ton of upside as an offensive weapon outside of a shooter. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that can create on his own if he's a primary scorer, but he checks a lot of the boxes the Magic are looking for and should fit nicely on a front line with Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Wendell Carter. Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field68, FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks. One of the worst kept secrets in this draft is that the Pacers need a power forward and they're trying to draft a power forward. And I do think that the two guys that they would be targeting for that role are Jairus Walker and Taylor Hendricks, the two guys that we picked at 5 and 6 in this draft. With those two going off the board in front of them, we're going to be sending Cam Whitmore their way to Indianapolis. Whitmore is one of the best athletes in this draft. He is a powerful finisher that excels when he's able to get his shoulders by you and get all the way to the rim. He's one of the few guys outside of the top 3 in this class that I think has the real potential to be a primary option on a playoff team. It's going to take time for him to get there. He needs to develop his offensive game. He needs to develop the jump shot, but he showed enough flashes as an isolation scorer that I think that he's going to have a chance to get there. And the most important thing here is he's one of the youngest players in this draft class. He's a full 18 months younger than the Thompson twins. It's going to take time, but I do believe that the payoff is going to be worth it, especially as he comes along the defensive end. He has all the physical tools that you could want. He still needs to be taught things like angles, things like rotations, things like different reads. I think he has a chance to get there, and I think there's a non-zero chance that he could be a guy that could play the 4 in the NBA, given his size and his physicality. The Wizards are on the clock with the 8th pick, and there's a lot of turnover in their front office this season. It's really hard to project what they'll do based on past precedents. And there's this added layer of everyone's favorite offseason guessing game. Will Brad Beal stay or will Brad Beal go? Will Brad Beal end up in Portland? Will Dame Lillard end up in Washington? Who knows? Whatever it ends up being, I have the Wizards selecting Asar Thompson, who I am lower on than his brother Amen, but who I think has a better chance of getting to his ceiling earlier in his career. Asar strikes me as more of a connective piece than a real potential superstar. He's an athletic playmaker. He's going to do all the switchable stuff that you want defensively. He's a good passer. He's a guy that will fit really well alongside other stars and other really good players in the NBA. He's just one of these role players, one of these big wings that can guard 2 through 4 that everybody is looking for. They're at a premium in the NBA. And to me, if Asar hits his ceiling, he will be something in the neighborhood of the Warriors version of Andre Iguodala or the Nuggets version of Aaron Gordon. I think he's that kind of an athlete with a little bit more upside if the shooting continues to improve. The 9th pick will go to the Utah Jazz, who are making the first of 3 picks in this year's first round. And we have them taking Anthony Black here. Look, I love Anthony Black. He is a 6'8" point guard that began his high school career as a blue chip wide receiver. He's a terrific athlete with the kind of physical tools that every NBA GM dreams of. But he's also a point guard that proved himself the best NBA prospect on a team that had as many as 5 pros last season at Arkansas. He's a terrific point of attack defender. He has passing ability that really popped last year. And if the shooting comes around, Black, to me, is a guy that has all-star upside. I think he can play as a point guard. I think he's able to play off the ball. I think he can guard 1 through 3. I think he can play 1 through 3 at a minimum. He is, to me, one of the highest floor prospects in this draft class because of what he could do defensively and his passing. And if the shooting comes along, he's a very high IQ player. I love Anthony Black. I think this is a steal at the 9th pick for the Jazz. Pick number 10 is where things get a little bit spicy in this mock draft. We are going with Derek Lively II of Duke, who was the number 1 prospect heading into college in the 2022 recruiting class, but he only managed to average 5 points and 5 boards. So why do I have him going top 10? His shooting and his shot blocking. Duke's season changed in 2023 when Lively started to figure it out on the defensive side of the floor. He averaged 2.4 blocks in just 20 minutes a game, despite the fact that he started the season really struggling. And while the shooting wasn't there for him as a freshman, I've seen him make enough threes at Peach Jams in workouts that I fully believe that he is going to get there. He is a guy that can make threes. That is going to happen. And with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on the same roster, there's 2 things that the Mavs are desperately going to need. Somebody that can be a defensive anchor around the bucket and somebody that can create space with their jump shot. Derek Lively can do both of those things. And while it may seem like a little bit of a reach, I think that this is going to work out well. And I think that if the Mavs pick Derek Lively, Dallas fans are going to be very, very happy down the road. The Magic are back on the clock at number 11, and this is where we will be making the Dick pick. Kansas freshman Grady Dick, another shooter to go along with Taylor Hendricks for a team that needs some floor spacing. Dick has the size and the athleticism to be a switchable defender down the road. And while he's mainly known for his ability as a shooter right now, he did really improve as a defensive presence during his freshman season, which frankly isn't really saying all that much because of where he started, but the effort is there. I believe that he cares enough about the defensive side of the ball that he's going to eventually be good on that end. Caring is half of the battle. The Magic need floor spacing, and they will add 2 guys in this draft lottery that should be able to help space the floor very early in their careers. I don't know if Grady Dick is going to be a Christian Brown kind of an impact as a rookie, but I would not be surprised to see him have that level of impact in year 2, maybe in year 3, and that's about the point when the Magic are going to be really looking at being a potential playoff team. Oklahoma City are on the clock at 12, and we have the Thunder selecting Wemby's teammate in France, Bilal Coulibaly, who is a terrific athlete at 6'6", that does all the things that you look for out of a wing on the defensive side of the ball and in transition. What's really interesting to me with Coulibaly is that over the course of the last month or 2, since the college season has ended, he's played his best basketball with Metropolitans 92. He needs to get the jumper cleaned up, but they're starting to run some offense through him. And the tape, especially in the last couple of weeks from him, has really started to pop. It looks like he's starting to figure some things out on that end of the floor as a primary initiator. I think it's good. He's ended up as the biggest riser in this Dreams draft, and I would not be shocked to see him be a guy that went from, being a potential early second round pick to getting picked in the lottery, where we have him at number 12 going to the Thunder. The Raptors are selecting 13th, and we have them taking Kentucky point guard Cason Wallace, who is, for my money, the best defensive weapon in this draft class. Masai Ujiri loves taking these long, athletic wings with crazy upside potential, but with Fred VanVleet's status up in the air, picking a guy that can play on or off the ball, picking a guy that can play in the backcourt, picking a guy that can fit seamlessly alongside Scotty Barnes seems like a savvy decision. And Wallace is exactly that. He is a fantastic defender. He is one of these guys that is elite on the ball. He has tremendously quick hands, and he is just a smart defensive weapon. You're going to watch him play, and there's going to be times during the game where you say, what the hell is he doing there? How did he end up in this spot making this play, and it's not going to cost them? I love this kid. I love this fit. I love drafting Kentucky one-and-done guards. They always end up paying off. I think in 5 years, he's going to be somewhere on the Patrick Beverley, Marcus Smart, Drew Holiday spectrum. And if you can get that with the 13th pick, you are getting a home run. Love Cason Wallace. At number 14, we have New Orleans selecting Baylor freshman Keontae George, who is probably the best one-on-one bucket getter in this year's draft class. And if there's something that New Orleans lacks, especially in the moments when Zion Williamson is not actually on the floor, it's offensive weapons that can create shots on their own. And that's kind of all Keontae George can do right now. I think he is the biggest boom or bust prospect in this draft class. I think he can be another Devin Booker if, and this is the key, it's a pretty big if, the pick and roll passing gets to an elite level. He showed flashes of it at Baylor, but it was hard to tell how much of that was him reading a defense out of a pick and roll and how much of it was him making the right play that was drawn up for him out of those pick and roll actions. There's a difference there. The shooting efficiency is going to need an uptick, but I think that will happen once he gets more reps at the NBA level, and he's got to be a better defender. But if it all comes together, like I said, I think that there is Devin Booker in his range of outcomes. I also think he's a guy, if it doesn't work out, might not be in the league after his first contract. So very much the definition of boom or bust for Keontae George. Thank you for watching The Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.